second here. And how do you usually do that, Jen, in the meetings? Do you take the people that are here attending? So for the copy of the, the minutes and stuff like that, do you take their name after the fact or before the meeting here?
Yeah, I'm all caught up with everyone.
Oh, okay,
I've
great.
been getting them as they've been coming in. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we'll get started. You can go ahead and start the tape if you'd like for us.
All set.
Great, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Plumbing Piping Work Examining Board. Today, April 26, 2023, we have the minutes from the past meeting that Acting Chairman Carlton Pember had run on February 2nd, 2023. I'd like to make a motion on those minutes to accept those minutes.
Second that.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion made. We have a second by Aaron came first, Aaron Noctor. Do we have any discussion about those minutes in that meeting?
Yeah. One thing, this is Chip. One of the things is Joe was in that meeting, but is not on the list of members that were there.
Members present, Joe Policia. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other changes that needed to be made to that as we discuss this in the discussion? Does everything seem to be in order, Carlton, as well in your discussions there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Joe, is there anything you wanted to add when your name was missing there? Is there anything, are you all set with your emails with the department and stuff, address getting stuff as well?
Yes, I got a response from Jason and hopefully we'll see.
Okay, great. Okay, so with that one change, we're adding Joe Policia to the members present that day on February 2nd, 2023. No more discussion. All in favor of accepting these minutes February 2nd, 2023 as changed with Joe Policia, say aye.
Aye.
Noes? Okay, so moved. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the agenda now for April 26th this morning. We have a quorum and go on to comments or concerns of any person present today. That's our next line item here. Does anybody have any comments or concerns of anybody present today?
I will have to recuse myself, excuse me, for Andrew Hurlbut portion.
Okay, so Andrew, is Mr. Hurlbut actually here today? Mr. Hurlbut?
He is up.
He is up. Where
On audio, though.
He's on audio.
He does not have audio, I don't think. I see him there, but I don't hear him.
Can you hear? Hold on a second.
Hear you now. You're there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And we have him there, and you're going to recuse yourself, Aaron.
I will sign off.
Okay. Okay. All right. So moving right along.
Mr. Appleby, just the concerns of the agenda there that I don't know if we need to make a note at this point or not that Chip Pember and Joe Policia are not on that list of board members.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So yourself, Joe.
And Mr. Pember.
And Mr. Pember needs to be added. Okay. Okay. And Jen, you can take care of that, make those corrections.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. So let's go over to DCP Investigations Division. We have Janita Hamill with us, and thank you, Janita, for attending today. If you want to give us an update, that would be awesome. Appreciate it.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. For the months, the past 2 months starting, excuse me, from January 1st, 2023 through February 28th, 2023, the Occupational Enforcement Unit for Investigations received 6 brand new complaints, and we did not close any files that we are still investigating. So that's what that shows. Also, with the 2 newest employees that we received in the end of September, we have 4 inspectors in the field who are doing site inspections. So,
Great. We now have 4 inspectors in the field. Beautiful.
Yep.
So nothing completed on investigations. Could you discuss briefly, Janita, to our new members of the board and members that are present today about why we don't list the complaints, only the completions after the fact, for just the sake of the new members on our board as well?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Any open file is under investigation, and it's only allegations until we complete the investigation. So therefore, none of that information is going to be provided on the spreadsheet. As Mr. Chairman Appleby said, when a file is closed, if we close it and we found no violations, the spreadsheet will then list the file number, the name of the complainant, the name of the respondent. It will say whether it was no permits or it was a billing issue or whatever. It will say what the allegation was, and then we'll have resolution notes on it that will say it's a civil matter to dispute of facts. The contractor and the people that worked, the Journey people that worked on the job were properly licensed. Oh, and the contractor did have the permit in place. So because we check with the town, the permit's there, there's no licensing violations, we will close it as a dispute of fact civil matter. The consumer has to take the contractor to court because they're looking for money. We investigate whether or not there are any licensing violations and apprenticeship violations when we investigate the complaint. In the event that there might have been violations, we have a assurance of voluntary compliance as a means through the memorandum of understanding with the former Commissioner Harris and the boards, where we are able to settle minor violations. Somebody might not have been licensed. They might have failed to renew their license in time. The permit was after the fact. So then they will sign an assurance of voluntary compliance, explaining that they're not ever going to do that again. And then they will pay a forfeiture. First offense fine is $1,000. So they pulled the permit after the fact. You will see assurance of voluntary compliance. The resolution notes will say permit after the fact. And in the fine column on the report, the spreadsheet that I provide to all the boards, not just yours, will show it was $1,000 assurance of voluntary compliance. Or in our investigation, there are some egregious violations. It's more than one unlicensed person. There were no permits. The building official also got involved after the fact because there's a new contractor that was hired. They pulled their permit. They got the building official to go out there, and now we have numerous code violations. Then, rather than doing an assurance of voluntary compliance, we will prepare a written report that will be presented up to the legal department. They will make a determination of next steps. And then from there, entirely possible that you all will be sitting in a formal administrative hearing on that matter, in which case DCP's attorney for your board will present the case on my behalf or one of the inspector's behalf to you. The respondent will be there. The unlicensed respondents, also the employees, could possibly also be there. They might have an attorney, in which case then you will hear the matter presented before you, with DCP presenting the evidence that either I collected or my inspectors collected. And then you would make a determination after having the hearing, and then it would be a final decision in order issued by your board in the matter. So until the investigation is completed and we've come to some type of a conclusion, you're not going to see that information on the report. Okay. And if the file is up in legal, that's still considered to be an open pending case. So that information will not be there. And in the event that you might have prior knowledge of it, and you want a question answered, please contact me directly at my email or on my cell phone for the department, because we can't discuss it in this open forum, because now then all the other members would be prejudiced and their attorney would try to get the case dismissed based on the fact that board members had prior knowledge of a case where they're supposed to be neutral and impartial and listening to all the parties. Does that make sense?
That is perfect. Well said, Janita. I had some questions in there that I want to share, and you hit it all. Moving forward down the road, just so you know, the plumbers do continuing education. It'll be coming up under old business shortly, but I just want you to know that any of the changes or regulations with the department in regards to any licensure that the plumbing board handles will be put into continuing education efforts for all licensed individuals that are under the plumbing board area, just so you know, moving forward this coming year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, do your new board members have any questions, or are they all set?
I was going to ask next, I was going to ask any of the board members here, including our new members, if they have any questions for you at this time.
I do not.
Okay, great.
And I also do not. This is Chip.
Great. If you guys have any questions, you'll see, and we often do, we'll see names come across. Maybe even we might think of as repetitive names once in a while on these reports that we get from Samuel. And if we do, reach out to her. We don't want to have an issue there. So reach out to her and ask her the questions that you need. She can open up that file for you and discuss your thoughts, in the case. Okay, guys. So thank you for that. Thank you, Janita, for your time this morning. Thank you for that report.
You're quite welcome, Mr. Chairman. And to you and the other board members, have a good day.
You as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have anything under old business? I know I do. Does anybody have anything under old business they want to bring up this morning? Okay, so under old business.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yeah,
Applegate. I just had a question. I ran across several people that had issues with PSI, and if that's something that we should be discussing, or what we should do, if anything, that are having issues with getting their test dates. And I don't know if they're having a computer problem there, or what's going on.
Okay, this has been brought up in many board meetings. I appreciate you bringing it up under old business. I know Jason Cohen handles the PSI piece for the department. Maybe I could have Jason lean in on any question that you might have. Good morning. Thanks, Jim.
Is there a specific question?
Yes, well, there's a company that has several people that have applied for a test, have gone through the Consumer Protection Department and are at the step that where they're sending to PSI for a test date. And it's been well over a month with no response and phone calls with no response or test dates. And I heard someplace that they were either updating their software or something. They had some problems. I wonder if that was a temporary issue or what. That's the question.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything specific, so if you just email me their names, I can look into specific issues.
Okay.
Great. Does anybody else have anything for Jason today?
I have something, I don't know if it comes under old or new business, would be on continuing education waiver request. I just have a couple questions and I don't know if that would be new business.
No, Chip, that's fine. No, that is old business at CE. And I'll be talking about that in a minute anyhow, but what's your questions today?
So what I'm finding is as the board receives the continuing education waiver responses, that some of the information on the applications that we're receiving is not correct in the aspect of as we look into different things of maybe when a license or a continuing education wasn't taken, that those dates are not correct. And it's not that the department or anyone, it's the actual like affidavit from the person missing is giving us these dates and giving us some information about themselves. And that information is not correct. So my question is there a procedure that can be put in place where some of this stuff can be looked at before it's given to us as a board to actually comment on it? So in other words, if I read it as it sits and make a comment, my comment's going to be wrong because the information I have is wrong.
And you don't have the access to the information that the department does. In the past, we've had individuals within the department that know the background on certain things that you didn't get access to. So like the dates when he in fact never took continuing education or her, or when their license was last renewed, or certain things like that you don't have access to because you don't have the computer records that other individuals within the department has. So not to get into Jason's answer here real quick, but I would like to, moving forward, now that we have a replacement for Mr. Hurlbert, John Mesner here, I was hoping perhaps now that the CE could go through Mr. Mesner, and then those questions could then be brought to Jason Cohen if that's possible, just so we have a way of taking questions from board members and have a direction now through Mr. Mesner and then up the ladder to Jason, say. Is that okay with you, Jason and John?
We could definitely take a look at it. I'll talk with John and Ryan about the process.
Great. Because when I was doing it, Chip's been doing a great job for the last few months, taking over that CE hardships for me. We got Jay Moore, obviously he's over now on the application review committee. We've got Joe Polici involved at some point here once we can get his email stuff squared away so he can take on the task, a role here with the Department of Consumer Protection Plumbing Board here. But that'd be great. I just figured it just to keep everybody within the department in the know. When we get this information, if there's a question, Carlton now can go right through to John and get to you, Jason. That way John is in the know as well, because it is a licensing question, and access to computers is important. Thank you, Carlton, for that.
You're
Is there any
welcome.
other questions any board members have in regards to CE or anything like that in regards to hardship questions before I move on? Having none, okay. So here we are, 2023, spring. We're going to start the curriculum for the next 2 years for the 2024-25 curriculum for the plumbing board. Going to be some changes I'd like to make this year. I've been attending a lot of different Department of Health stuff with PFAS. We have a lot of stuff that's involved with the J1s and J2s. I went up to the New England Well Drillers Association meeting up in Massachusetts last month, gathered a lot of great information from them. So to help them hopefully with their continuing education for the J1, J2 categories. Obviously, the plumbers are involved in a lot of this. As you know, we rolled out the new geothermal drilling contractor licenses last year, and those regulations are now out there. We have a lot of stuff in regards to the changes within the department with legislative changes that are should be noted by all contractors and journeymen in Connecticut in reference to different aspects of their companies. So what they're going to be expected to put on their contracts and their people that work for them. So we know exactly who did the job to make our enforcement team have better knowledge going into an investigation, who did the job and who's the employees that performed that job, whether they were properly licensed or not in the event of a complaint. So there's a lot of great things that we're going to be putting together in the CU for the whole licensing CE numbers, for providers. I'd like to get it up and running, get the curriculum approved by this board, possibly as early as the next board meeting, or I'll call a special meeting after that with everybody's permission. Okay. Any questions on any of that stuff? Okay, if not, I'd like to get a list of names of board members that can actively work with me to create the next curriculum. If there's anybody interested in joining my curriculum like we have done for the last 18 years.
Chuck, this is Chip. I'll definitely give you a hand.
Thank you.
I'm gonna recommend that Vinny catch up with you on that too.
Okay.
I know he's not here, but I'm gonna talk to him and ask him to reach out to you about getting on that.
Right. Because there might be stuff, Jay, that you guys at your level don't want this certain stuff on the other levels of the license categories. You might want us to add some other stuff for you guys as well. Keep in mind, we are on the Connecticut DAS. You go to the website, you'll see the 21 code books that are out there now. We have a swimming pool code now. So a lot of that is under the plumbing board now. So there'll be a lot of stuff in reference to that. Irrigation as well, any changes in the irrigations moving forward, so we can get this information and work with them. So the Connecticut Water Well Association, do we have any providers here today in this meeting that has any questions?
Chuck, I just want to say that I would be, Joe Pilecki are here, glad to help you with the curriculum for the next section.
Thank you.
Whatever you need, Chuck. I'm already committed to PSI on June 7th. I'll be up there.
Okay, great.
What else? Whatever else, concerns us, let me know.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the question to John Mesner now, because we'll have other members of the board that will be attending and outside people as well. Now, Aaron, will you be able to work with the J1, J2 categories to come up with the changes and deviations and stuff that have occurred in that industry, especially with PFAS? Are you?
Well, there's an awful lot. I was just in DC with NGWA. We had our fly-in, and that was a major portion of our legislative workshop, and upcoming regulations, upcoming treatment and technology. And when they set the threshold for PFAS, it's going to create a lot of chaos in our industry because I believe it's going to be at a 3 parts per trillion level and 3 or 4, and I think we're going to find it everywhere. You know,
Yeah, the EPA.
we start looking. If they make us look, we're going to find it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's basically a droplet of PFAS in a swimming pool with 30,000 gallons of water in it will bring you to 4 and 1 trillion. As said, I've attended some Department of Health MDC hosted up in Hartford with the Department of Health, the commissioner, chief of that division of health. And I am staying in touch because a lot of the utilities out there, you know, like your MDCs, your Groton Utilities, Norway, everybody's going to be looking for this. And then the expansion of that stuff, water mains, I should say, throughout Connecticut from their facilities, whether it's a city, town, and obviously our licensing licenses that cover water treatment, water filtration. We want to make sure we give them the correct information as we have it now moving forward, because once you start treating it with carbon block and all sorts of stuff, where's the money coming from? We want to make sure that these people that are installing this equipment are licensed and understand this and go through this education. And in fact, I hope the contractors of record for the installations even would take the time to send their employees, even if they're apprentices, through this training so we don't miss this step as we roll out the PFAS containment in the country and Connecticut. Aaron, thank you for going into that fly-in. I followed that. I'm on Driller Magazine webcast every week, every Monday morning, 6:30 a.m. And I love the discussions about the geothermal technologies, the rollout of the rebates, both for incentivize the of the geothermal technologies, the equipment, what the state's going to give and what the federal government's giving, especially the 30% tax incentive for consumers that decide to switch over to this. We'll keep a close eye on the industry as we look at all our industries within our plumbing license categories in Connecticut. If anybody ever has a question in regards to any of that, give us a call. Give me a call. Aaron, did you have a question?
Nope, all set.
Okay, great. Again, thanks for that. Looking forward to you working on that curriculum with us. Okay, so with that said, we can now move on to new business. Before we go to the applicants that are appearing for us today for their application reviews, is there anybody that has anything under new business that they would like to ask? Okay, having none, we'll start with the application review here. We'll start with a Mr. Andrew Hurlbut. And I don't believe, do we have, who is our, oh, we have Melissa Sheffy that joined us. See that? Hi, Melissa.
Good
We have
morning.
the lawyers representing the department here. I don't believe I have to swear in any of these individuals at this time. If there's an attorney here, they could let me know. Ryan's here. Hi, Ryan.
Hello.
Hey, good morning, Chuck Appleby. A quick question. We're going through the applications appearing for the review here. They've already been discussed through a working group. Do I swear these individuals in before they discuss anything, or is this just an informational only for them?
That would be at your discretion. If you chose to take some form of testimony from them, that would be completely fine. If you'd rather have an informal discussion, that's typically what happens.
Yeah, going forward, because of the applications and moving forward, I think at this point, I would like to swear in each individual each time, just so that way, when questions are raised by the board members to each individual, at least it's documented so we know the proper answers, So
There's nothing that would prohibit you from doing so.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so with that said, we'll start with Andrew Hurlbut. Andrew, would you raise your right hand, sir? You solemnly swear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Okay, you put your hand up. All right, so we're gonna move on to, you're applying, I believe, for J1. Would you like to discuss your situation with us?
Yeah, I've been in the industry since college, water treatment primarily, ground pumps, some booster pump stuff.
Hang on, Andrew. Can anybody hear Andrew speaking? Can you perhaps move your microphone closer to, or your computer system closer? I'm having a difficulty.
I'll speak louder too. Is that better?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm in the water treatment industry, primarily. Been on the truck since I was in junior high. Being primarily in water treatment, the J1, J2 licensure is kind of broad in spectrum compared to what we specifically do. Familiar with well pump and pump work, but it's not what we do. We've done booster pumps, storage, and primarily water treatment. Done a lot of PFAS stuff recently. I'm a plant operator class 2. I carry that license, and I monitor public water systems for the state of Connecticut, community, non-transient, non-community, and transient non-community systems. My partner,
while you're there, Andrew, could you explain a little bit about that, the plant operator piece? And that is a licensure through, I believe it's the Department of Health. Is there a licensure or certificate that you have to get or go to school for in order to have those certifications under your belt?
Correct. So it is a licensure from the Department of Public Health, specifically the drinking water section. Every 3 years, you have to do continuing education, 20 hours to maintain that license.
How many years? How many years, Andrew?
20 hours every 3 years.
Every 3, okay.
And I've carried that license since 2004. Basically, what a plant operator or class 2 operator does is, in Connecticut, we have in the rural areas, we have these basically commercial buildings, churches, daycares that provide water to the public. It's primarily well water. So there are certain things that have to be dealt with to make it safe, corrosion control, lead, bacteria, all that fun stuff. So we basically either install and maintain those systems, also facilitate with any compliance paperwork as part of the routine inspections that the state does on these systems. They're all required to have what are called 3-year sanitary surveys. They're depending on backflow prevention and cross connection devices on site. They are required to do annual inspections or have waivers for those inspections. So I facilitate with all that stuff as well.
Do you carry the backflow prevention device certificate from the Department of Health?
I do not. One of my employees did, but since they've changed the way they're handling the recertification of that license, we are not renewing it. So okay. Only a few of my systems have actually had backflow prevention devices. So I handle about 20 public water systems, and I think only 2 of them had dentist office that had backflow prevention devices as part of their dental equipment. So the licensure was to retain it was you have to do 60 tests a year to maintain the license, which, so what we ended up doing, which didn't, that they don't prohibit you from doing, in my own building that I own, we installed a device that we test regularly to get the additional tests that we can't do in that 3-year window that you have to do the 60 tests.
That's a very good answer, because it's exactly what you have to do to meet that criteria. But when you're in there, so what do you guys do now? You typically, because I know it's not profitable really to do the backflow prevention testing. It's easier just to have somebody that has that, have Correct. Them as a subcontractor to do that for you. Like you said, you're limited to what you're doing. But as we roll out going forward, I'm especially with the new role of the CE coming up, we're going to talk. I want to make sure that we discuss the plant operator, the class 2 operator coming forward, because a lot of these guys are retiring from the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, no, there's a huge exodus of the industry's aging out.
Right. And I believe, what's the school that you can go to in New Haven? Is it Gateway? Am I correct?
It's
for training?
Gateway, I think they're trying to, Gateway is the current one that provides the examination. You know, Class 2 is kind of a unique thing. A lot of people that are actually going to this for education are trying to go for the 3, the 4, the distribution 3, the wastewater 3, 4, because that's what the public utilities are requiring. You know, we on the private side really deal with these small systems that, you know, they're either condo complexes that are owned by a management company that don't have anybody in-house that does this stuff. So they contract us in, which is, you know, kind of where we fall into place.
Okay, so when you got plant operator and Class 2 operator, do you have a certificate from a school for that showed the amount of hours that you did put in that school? Or you could tell me right now what the amount of hours is required for you to get that
For
operator?
the initial examination that I took in 2004.
Okay.
Is that what you're referring to?
As plant operator or Class 2? You said you had a couple.
I'm a Class 2 plant operator is the actual license.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then what were the hours for that, sir?
I think I had to take a 2-day class, which is 8 hours each, and then I was able to sit for the exam. This is
So
back in
total-
2004.
Total of 16 hours of classroom study?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That,
And
yeah,
you
that
had-
was 2004, so that's what I remember.
Right, right. You know if that has changed since then?
I am not aware that it's changed or not since then. A lot of your gateway classes are going to be kind of geared towards the 3 and the 4 licensure, because it's public utilities, which is a whole different ballgame than what a Class 2 and a Class 1 or a small systems operator does, which are their 3 classifications. I'm on the certification board for the state of Connecticut for the drinking water section for these licensures, with Bill Sullivan. They're going to combine the small systems in the division into one, because they kind of cover a lot of the same things. But that's as far as I know.
Okay, now you mentioned William Sullivan. You're on a certification committee with him?
Correct.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what the certificate group is, what they do, and how many times they meet a year, or what the actual definition of that committee that you serve on? I'm trying to get as much information out of your brains all these years as to give the members of the board a better. Jay, can I have him answer that one question, and I'll take your question?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Go ahead, Andrew. Sorry to bother you.
Yeah, so I've been on the certification board since 2018. We usually meet before COVID. It was monthly, based on Mr. Sullivan's schedule. He's a busy individual. And basically, we have members from the head of Aquarian, Regional Water Authority, New Britain, I believe, and a couple other people from that are in the industry that carry licenses, and we basically discuss. We've switched to the ABC format for testing, but basically a lot of the discussions that we're reviewing are any problems with applications, like you were reviewing me today, with trying to get certification, pathways and approving courses for continuing education. And then also we used to review exam questions, and basically pass-fail rates amongst applicants, and try to, if we have to change questions or update the testing. Again, that's all kind of gone away because they're transitioned to the ABC testing plan now, which is going to be, they're trying to really gear towards reciprocity between states, encourage veterans to get into the field, that type of stuff as the industry is aging out, as you know. So really, when we meet, that's the type of stuff that we review and discuss.
Do you have a veteran status, sir?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you. And I appreciate you answering my questions, Andrew. I am now going to let Jay Moore ask you some questions as well. Jay.
Sure.
Hi, good morning, Andrew. I just, we're speaking extensively on this water treatment plant operator class 2 license. According to the one that's provided, had an expiration date of 6/30/2020. Is this your latest copy?
No,
or-
I'm because of COVID, they extended that date. I renewed it in November, which basically when you renew that license, and Lamont issued an executive order to extend obviously testing and renewal dates through COVID. So I am officially did my renewal in November, which basically my next expiration date is June 30th of this year. I can send you guys that certificate, but it's right next to me on my desk.
That would be great. I'd like to see the latest. And so this isn't a state license, it's a certificate.
It's
Correct.
a department, it's drinking water. It's
Health.
I'm not sure how they classify it. You'd have to talk to the drinking water section, but whether a license or certificate, I'm not sure what the technical definition difference is.
Okay. I just I'd like to see your latest certificate that it's been.
I'll scan it and send it to you guys.
A certificate is normally training. It doesn't have hands-on vocational training. That's the definition of a license.
Okay.
With the Department of Consumer Protection, a license is you had to go to school, a classroom-related instruction, and then on-the-job training. That is a license. A certificate is obviously what you're probably carrying there, and other certs as well. We also have that if you carry a plumbing license in Connecticut, or heating, or some sort of different type of license, you are eligible to take a residential fire sprinkler class. You can take medical gas as well, classes, and be licensed actually in the MGV there. So having the P1s and the S1s and stuff like that allow you to be able to go get these certificates towards your license for your particular job, if you're doing oxygen, nitrous oxide in the medical fields or what have you. Does anybody else have, Jay, are you done there? You have anything else for Andy?
No, okay, right at the moment, Chuck. Thank you.
Thanks. Carlton, please. Carlton Pember.
Yeah, so I do have a quick question. As you look on the site for the Connecticut and licensing and things, there is a section that says that the proof of related instruction, note that on-the-job training and work experience cannot be considered in the lieu of classroom time. So questioning along the lines of what Chuck was asking as far as classroom time, do you have like an OSHA 30? Because that's one of the requirements to sit for a license. And are there other, when you look at the J2, which I know you're going for the J1, when you're going for the J license, there's around 8 classes that people would have to take to qualify them to be able to sit for the exam. And I'm just wondering if the classroom time that you have covers that same kinds of thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the continuing education that I do is we've done some, again, can't repeat things within I think you can't take 2 classes back to back for the same topic, right? In that 3-year window. So done OSHA, confined spaces, we review regulatory stuff as part of the Class 2 operator's license. So lead and copper rule, RTCR, revised total coliform rule. Then, we deal with things like we've had over the last basically 6 years, I've done 4 sessions on PFAS, cybersecurity. So, there's going to be, so those continuing education hours, some of those parallel some of the instructions for J2. I mean, I could probably pull everything that I've done as far as hours with exact classes and forward it to you guys, and you guys can figure out if there's any overlap in that instruction.
Jay
You
Moore.
said, excuse me, so you said that you've taken OSHA classes. Are you OSHA 30?
I'm not OSHA 30, so they've been not that specific course. We've done, I think, we did not this past round of my renewal, the renewal before that, we had a 4-hour OSHA class that DPH put on, and they brought people in about work site, all that type of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Jay Moore, please.
Andrew, so do you have, do you have any certificates that show any education that gives you the opportunity to take the test for even the J2? I mean, you're asking for a contractor's license today, which means you would be eligible to apprentice people. And I mean, honestly, you need to provide some classroom hours, in my opinion, to show that you would be eligible for a J2. Let alone
So I'm a business owner, and that's why I am going for the J1. My issue of contention is that my partner is 10 years older than me. He's going to be retiring soon. To try to get 300 hours or whatever hours it is would be challenging within a time frame to run my business and have the proper licensure to own and run my business. I am aware of one specific circumstance of a previous person that came in front of the board that basically was a vendor in our industry, worked from some of my competitors, went into business himself, and the education waiver was waived for him to obtain the J1 license. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And whatever your decision is, I'll live by it. This doesn't need to be contentious at all, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. And it's something that hasn't come up in the past. Our industry, water treatment, has been trying to work towards a separate license, either within the J1 or separate from the J1, to do what we do, as being a company that does water treatment only. Again, I'm familiar with pumps because it's a related field, but it's not what we do. And unfortunately, you guys don't offer a license specific to water treatment only. So that's kind of the position that I'm in.
Thank you.
Andrew, I'm looking at, the background of this. The individual that currently carries the contractor license in the company, is he retiring last month, next month, 2 years?
I mean, I can't give a specific answer on that, but probably, depending on in the next 2 to 5 years is what I'm going to say. But I don't have anything definitive yet. It's kind of he's my uncle, so it's a family business.
Yep.
So, I would be lying if I would be telling you a specific date.
I think I have, I'm looking at your background here, what you've done. I've been in those meetings. First of all, we don't give anybody a contractor license tomorrow. We start with a journeyed person's license if the board approves stuff, and then they have to wait 2 years to get a contractor's license. So that's typical. But I'm looking at your background that you've already had since 2004 with all these hours. And I'm thinking, is there any way that, obviously, you must know what the J2, I lost you, Andrew, you're not there. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? Did my
Yes.
video cut out?
Yeah, video cut out. Okay.
Right. But
Yeah,
you can
we'll
hear me?
see. Yeah, we'll see. See when you get back here.
How about now?
Great, gotcha. So you've got a lot of stuff here that is very important to the industry in Connecticut, especially the Department of Health as we roll out PFAS, plus everything else you're doing. The OSHA is important. That's why our members of our board are talking to you about it, because with what you're doing, and it might not be required through DPH, but we feel very important that when we put you into allow you in the future here to be licensed in Connecticut is to make sure that you're protected in the trench and the people with you. And especially in confined areas that a lot of this, as you know, the 2, the 3, and the 4 go into. And we do a lot of treatment in the pits. We get it. I'm just wondering, I'm asking my board here. He's got a lot of background here. I've known people on the board in the past that have been able to sit for the J2 with the knowledge that they had, but it's up to this board. We could probably give him his time with your permissions in the field with his family business. It doesn't seem like a hardship if it's 2 to 5 years out that the uncle can stay as the contractor of record until Andrew can get his ducks in a row and get probably some of the classroom related instruction. Or is there somebody that we could, Mr. Mesner, reach out to and cross-reference his classroom? I don't know if Pat Charligrio would be able to chime in on this for us with Andrew to see what we can cross-reference over to the classes that he would have to take, if any. What's your thoughts on that?
Correct. So there's 2 avenues there, Mr. Chairman. I think one would be he could contact the technical high school system, adult education. One of the department heads at the evening school program could either walk him through a transcript review based on what he has and let him know what classes he's deficient in for the J2. The other avenue would be if he was to enroll within an apprenticeship with the Department of Labor under the uncle. The apprenticeship representative could also look at his previous education and determine which classes he's deficient in as part of the apprenticeship to complete those classes.
Thank you, Mr. Mesner.
Yep.
I noticed you mentioned, Andrew, you guys do filters, but you don't do pumps, but you do a little bit. But so are you up on pumps? So a J2 requires both pieces to this whole package. What currently does your uncle hold for a license for your company now?
He holds the J1.
Okay, all right. So you guys were licensed in both the filtration and pump side. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Okay, does any other board members here have a question for Andrew before we send him over to the trade schools to see what we can do to possibly cross over the school that he has? So if he has to take a few classes to get this on his way, his uncle can remain the J1 until he can get the J2. And if it's 2 to 5 years out, there's ample time for him to get what he needs to come back to us for the to sit for the J2.
Can I ask a question? If I have to do hours, as whatever hours we come up with,
the hours for classroom, sir, or hours for the industry classroom related instruction, or on the job training? Which one are you talking about?
Well, I'm assuming that it's the classroom hours that are in question, not my on the job training.
Correct.
But,
yeah, I think we would waive that for you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Because of the time. Yeah.
So classroom hours, where are those offered? Are those like on site in a classroom, or is there online versions of that?
You can get
Mr.
on.
Chairman, I could answer that if you like.
Thank you, Mr. Mesner. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Andrew, I could forward you, if you like, after this meeting, a list of approved vendors for the state of Connecticut. There is different vendors, both public and private, tech school being one of them. That's offered through the state of Connecticut Technical High School, or your private industry, your Penn Fosters, your IMTIs, etc. Some of those classes are in person. Other classes are strictly online. So it's going to be up to you which vendor you choose to select and progress through to achieve those hours. But like Mr. Pember was mentioning earlier, like the OSHA 30, you can sign on and get an OSHA 30 through any vendor. So that's up to you how you get your classes complete.
And Water Quality Association offers education as well. Do you guys recognize that yet?
That would be a Pat Tiriglio question, I think.
Mr. Chairman, we have accepted those before when those have come in for the W1 J1 combos. That's the certification that Andrew's referring to, correct? Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were
Yeah.
asking Drew, if he has those classes with the water quality people.
Yeah. We have looked at those certifications previously for the W1J1s or W2J2s that they've come in, correct? Those are the classes that he's referring to the best of your knowledge?
That's what I would ask.
Yeah.
Mr. Hurlbut here. Yeah. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have reviewed those before, and as long as they meet or exceed the requirements, then yes, they're accepted.
Okay. So if I was looking at doing any continuing education through them, would I submit to you basically what the class is before I take it so it's approved by you?
In the document I'll forward to you, it will outline every class that's needed for the J2. And as long as you can align those classes, then those are the required classes that are needed.
Okay.
And Andrew, try to, when you, will he speak with Mr. Tiriglio at all through the technical school system, John, to see all his other background that he has for certifications here with DPH and Bill Sullivan's group, and especially the fact that he's on the certificate board that should be able to help him with some of those classes?
You can go in that direction, if you like, I can provide that email as well, and it might be beneficial for you to see if there's anything. It would take the technical high school to review your transcript, Andrew, and they'd be the ones that sign off to say that, previous classes that you have been accepted. That would be accepted by us at the department in lieu of any other certifications that you have. If the technical high school system says that your certifications previously received through other vendors meet or exceed, we will accept what they tell us. And then if you choose to go to a different vendor for the rest of the classes that are outstanding, that's fine. You can put all those correspondence together to equate to the required classes that are needed for the J2.
Okay.
Great. And Andrew, thank you for coming in front of the board and being as honest as you are with your questions. We're just glad it's not, we typically have like people that come with a death in the family and they're jammed up now. You do have time. Your uncle can stay, whether he, until you at least get your J2, and then, he can stay, behind the scenes or whatever, as long as you have that occupational license to go out there and get it done. So I see a lot of stuff here. I don't think you're that far off, to be honest with you. I wish you a lot of luck. Get back to us as soon as you can. Get those classes enrolled. There are online classes. You can take Penn Foster. You can knock them right out. We have people that do that all the time. We have, like you just said, the National Water Well Association, I believe, is that the group that you're talking about that has the training. So, get as much of that as you can. I follow that because of the geothermal. They're very much involved in that with their documentation for years of what they're doing from so many different states. I wish you luck. Get back to us as soon as you can. Okay.
All right. Just so we're on the same page and I'm not the next step for me is to kind of put together my transcript of my classes that I've used to renew my current license and send them to you guys to present to the education people to see what overlaps for hours to count, considering, or where am I going with that information, I guess?
That's for Mr. Messer. I'll let him answer that. Thanks, John.
Yep, no problem, Mr. Chairman. Nope, that's not going to come back to DCP. We would only accept a transcript review from the technical high school system or a private industry approved vendor for that matter. So again, if you were to take your classes to the National Well Water Association, and they were to provide a document indicating the fact that your classes, because we acknowledge their certificates, we would view that as well. But you would need to get it from an approved vendor first. We do not do at the department transcript reviews.
Okay, so can you, besides the Connecticut Well Water Association, National Well Water Association, are you going to point me in the direction of who to talk to send the transcript to?
Yep, I'm going to forward you a document that lists all the approved vendors in the state, and you can reach out to, again, either the technical high school system, which is one of the approved vendors,
Okay.
or again, a Penn Foster, an IMTI, New England Tech, whomever you want that you want to sit down with. And again, as long as they could acknowledge what you have, it's called a transcript review. They'll look at what you have. They'll look at the outstanding the classes that are needed for the J2, and together you guys can determine which classes you're deficient in. And then those classes would be completed, and at the end of the day, they would provide you with a document indicating that you've met or exceeded those classes required for the J2.
Once I achieve the J2, then what?
There's a 2-year waiting period after that to sit for the J1, but that doesn't mean that Uncle Paul can't be there, still part of the company. You got to wait a 2-year period. If there's a serious hardship, a loss of something, you can certainly come in front of this board and get that permission to sit for J1. But you've got, from what I've heard in the past year through people from the Connecticut Water Well Association, is they're trying to put together a J1, or it's called a J2 apprenticeship program. So this would be, for you to go to them. Are you guys currently members of them as well?
My partner who's carrying the J1 is the president.
Okay, so their right in itself is a great opportunity for you guys to create that program on your own as a group and become a provider of that training for the organization and for the members of your association.
And I think Aaron, who recused himself because he knows me, is working with Paul towards that end.
Great.
And Jeremiah Weed from Barlow Pump.
Yep. Very good. Very good. Great.
Thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Great.
All right. Have a good day.
You too, sir. Thanks. Okay, the next individual we have is David Krajewski. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. David, do you have, can you wave to us so we can see? There you are. Okay, very good. Thank you. And you are applying for, I believe, a SP1. Do you certainly carry an SP2 at this time?
I'm sorry?
You carry an SP2 at this time?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So you were unanimously denied on 1/27/23 at a application review working group meeting, which I attended. So at this point, I have to refrain myself from the committee because I was on that decision. Okay. So I'm going to let the other board members take over at this time. If you don't have the SP2 at this time. So I have to recuse myself as chairman. Okay, sir. So I'm going to let, at this point, Chip Pember, if that's okay, acting chairman. Mr. Pember still here? There he is.
Yes.
Down there. Okay. We can't see Chip yet. He is, his camera's in the off position.
Hey, Chuck, I'm sorry to cut you off. I got one question. Did that need to be made in the form of a motion or decision? What to do with the last
Oh, Mr.
Candidate?
Gilbert? No, he's, he was in for information.
Okay.
So if he chooses to go get the training he needs to get what he needs that we've requested, he can certainly do that. It's up to him.
Yeah, well, you instructed him that we were gonna waive the,
And have him do it. It's more of an informational situation, which way he wants to go. And I would also ask if Mr. Pember, when he does take over here, if he could ask to make sure that David raises his right hand and does his oath, if that's okay.
Can I ask, I am out of town, so I don't actually have this other file with me. I'm up in Massachusetts today, so I don't know
Okay.
if I would be the person to actually run this part.
Okay, that's fine.
I just looked
we
through
can,
the stuff, I do not have it.
Yeah. Jay, would you like to take it? I certainly can give him the oath for you.
sure, I thought I printed him out. Yeah. What's the gentleman's name?
This
Oh, here.
would be, yeah, David Krajewski.
Yutsky? Sure,
Would you like to give the oath or would you like me to give it to him?
you can give the oath, Chuck, I'm good with that.
Thanks. David, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thanks, sir. Great. Okay, we'll let Jay take this case for us.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kuczewski, for coming in. Now, you're currently employed with Leslie Pools,
That's correct.
all right, and you don't possess the SP2 as a journey person, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, basically, we're in the same situation that we were in the last case, right? Do you have any formal education or covering the hours that are required for to obtain the SP2?
Oh, I'm certain I could obtain the SP2. We're really trying to get the SP1 license because the gentleman who worked for Leslie's, who was above me, who had the SP1 license, left the company, and so we're trying to get someone with an SP1 license.
Mm-hmm. Right, but in the last informational, you heard that a contractor license is the next step after the journeyman license, the SP2, and it's a 2-year waiting period, correct?
Yeah, I understand that. I will say, like, I went. I think her name was Karen Lehman, who was the person that I was communicating with during this process. In the application for the SP1 license, it says on page 11, the right column, paragraph 2, it actually says to get the license, you need to have the journey person license for 2 years or equivalent experience and training. And that's what we were told, I think, 1.5 years ago, roughly, when I originally applied, that we needed to get the CST license, which I have since acquired, and have the experience. And I worked on pool. I'm sorry?
Yep, right in the application in the second box, contractor applicants must have held respective journey person license for a minimum of 2 years prior to applying. You must attach a photocopy of your current license.
Okay. I guess I missed that. Where is that in the application?
It's right on the application that you filled out, page 1, right in the middle box.
Okay, I must have been looking in the wrong spot on the application.
Mr. Moore, can I make a comment?
Go ahead, certainly, Chuck.
In all fairness to Mr. Krajewski, I have a document here on 1/27/23 from the working group, which consisted of myself, Mr. Mesner, Janita Hamill may have been there, I'm not sure. And it says a note, applicant was informed of approval for SP2 following the 1/27/23 meeting.
Mhm.
Applicant does not wish to change from an SP2 and wishes to pursue the SP1. So my thought was, why didn't he just go take the SP2, get it over with? He should be sitting here today asking us to allow him to sit for the SP1 once he'd already accomplished that. So here it is 3 months later. I'm just chiming in with you because I was in that meeting. In all fairness to Mr. Kuski, he had the opportunity for the SP 2-3 months ago, and he probably could have been sitting for a hardship. I wouldn't say hardship, but an equivalent experience situation of some sort at this point. But I just want to share that with you in this.
I wasn't aware it appeared in front of the board prior.
Yeah, that's fine, and I just didn't want you to have to go down the other way when we've already approved him for the SP2. So I'll let you take over from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make a recommendation, Mr. Kajewski, that you sit for the SP2 and then come back and maybe apply for a hardship through the board, or just wait out the time and get the contractor's license of record.
Okay, if I may, I do want to apologize. I wasn't trying to waste anybody's time here. The impression that I got in my communications with Karen, because she did say, do you want to change it to the SP2? And then she said, but you have the opportunity to appear before the board and plead your case.
Right.
The understanding I had was that it was one or the other. I guess I didn't understand that fully, and I apologize. I didn't intentionally waste anybody's time. In fact, I'm grateful you guys were let me on here.
Not a problem. I just you had already sat in front of the committee that makes ultimately starts making the decision, and they granted you to take the SP2, where you should have probably just applied for that, gotten the SP2, and had you come here with that saying I already did it and now we're in a hardship, we may be sitting in a different situation. But I think you need to go back and take the recommendation from the first board that heard you, and the contractor license, we kind of hold in a little higher standard. It allows you to run a company and have employees and apprentice people, and in order not to be a journeyman first, would be a disservice to the people that did an apprenticeship and went through their service to get the contractor license.
I understand.
David, go get that done. Get it put away right away. Get that application squared away. Take that test. Get the PSI approval. Within 2 days, you could be taking that test somewhere. Okay, and then get back to us again when you're ready to rock and roll with the SP1. Okay.
Maybe I'll see you guys all in July then. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
Knock it out. Okay. Thank you for appearing today.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, David, if you didn't sign off yet, send Karen Lehman an email and let her know that you wish to take the SP2 so that she can get that process going with PSI.
Okay, I will as soon as we're done here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Messner. Thank you, Mr. Messner, for that, because that's going to move David quickly now through the system, because he's already done so much already. Good luck, David. Thank you, Mr. Messner.
Thank you.
No need to vote. We're good there. And we're on to Nicholas Tabshi. And he is applying what this application says. It's a PLM1. I'm not sure. So again, I was on the committee. I'm not going to be able to okay, so I'm going to reframe myself, but I'm going to bring Mr. Tabashi up for the swear in here. Mr. Tabashi, are you on a cell phone or are you in person, sir?
I'm on a cell phone.
Okay. So there's probably no way that you could show us your face off the cell phone?
No, not at this moment. I apologize.
Okay. All right. So I think we've listened to participants before that can't get through. There's no way, huh? You're on a cell phone and you can't show your face on that. Can I ask, is Ryan still here, the attorney for the department, to see if I can move forward with his information without his face recognition on the,
Ryan had to go to another appointment, Mr. Chairman. But as he indicated before, the swearing in is on you. So if you wanted to swear him in, we'll take for granted the fact that he is raising his right hand. And I will remind the applicant that this meeting is being recorded, and that you are under oath.
Yes, no problem.
okay. Nicholas, even though I can't see you, you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Jay Moore, please.
Well, thank you for coming, Mr. Tabashi. Today you're applying for your P1 contractor license.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long have you currently hold the P2 license?
I don't have the exact dates, but I would say a little less than a year.
Less than a year.
Yep. Unfortunately, when I went to go take the P2, I was using the NPC plumbing code book, and I had taken the test like 5 or 6 times, and my answers weren't matching up. So I spent like a year doing that until I realized, again, which was my mistake, it was the IPC book. So it kind of set me back a little bit.
Okay. All right. Things like that happen. It's confusion.
Yeah, completely my mistake.
As you heard, the last two people you were on for those, they were both applying for contractor licenses.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, we hold the contractor license to a little bit of a higher standard. I see your father owns the company. Is that what I understand?
Yes, he does.
Okay. And he has some arthritis and can't work in the field anymore, correct?
Yeah, he's been in business for like 45 years, in which case he developed pretty bad arthritis in his hand, so it kind of puts him out of the field. And as of recently, he kind of is developing some onset dementia, so it kind of puts him at a vulnerable position to deal with the customers and the contracts and the licensing and the permits and stuff like that. So he's obviously trying to retire as soon as possible, and kind of get out and take care of his health concerns at this point. So, I have held the P2 license, which I currently have. So I was just trying to see if I could kind of get a couple, months or whatever knocked off and go for the P1, because I know that doesn't happen overnight, and it's going to take, some studying and testing to do so. That being said, I do have my plumbing courses. I did go to Penn Foster. I did receive all that education. It did receive the P2 license. My father has been a plumber for 45 years. My uncle's been a plumber for 45 years. So I've been in the industry and around the industry for, many, many years. And moving forward, my father still wants to be involved in the business. He just can't be held accountable for the day-to-day operations and, dealing with customers, contractors, etc. So he's, like I said, he's trying to pivot away from the day-to-day operations, and we're just trying to maintain our family business that's been running, like I said, for like 45 years.
Well, and with that being said, your father can maintain the contractor of record with his P1 while you behind the scenes run the business day to day. You have maybe 12 more months or so, 13 before you're eligible to take the P1.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, as I documented previously from his healthcare provider, she wants him to stay away kind of from the business and the stresses in which it entails. So by her recommendation, he's trying to step away and, take less responsibility in the company for health reasons.
Right. Yeah. The contractor of record always isn't, pulling the strings. So, Chairman, you stated that he's, Mr. Tabashi has already been in front of the committee with Mr. Birch and yourself?
That is correct. With, I believe, Janita Campbell and John Messer. I know John was there in his transition over. How it came down, the decision was we had no official vote that took place that time. Even though I'm not going to vote in this case today, I can still share some facts here. Dementia was not brought up by the primary doctor. I don't believe there was an arthritis in his hand, but I don't see.
Correct. All I see is arthritis and strain on my hands that cause permanent damage. As far as what I have.
And as you know, I think no vote was taken because we just felt as though the business can be continued. As Mr. Moore said, you don't have to be the contractor of record, but you can certainly be, your dad can be behind the scenes. He doesn't have to participate in the business that way. And we will take care of you, okay? Nicholas, we will take care of you, your family, your history. With the family, you went and did your right stuff. Jay said you got about a year out. We can let you sit for that. I would have probably apply about a year from now, but keep your dad on that. Is your dad's license still up to date and everything, just so you know?
It is, yep.
And he took his continuing education requirement last year?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Okay, because that is being held online and in person. So as we roll out the next continuing education requirement, he will be able to, if he cannot physically get to the school, he will be able to go to an online presence to continue to get his the CE qualification to keep your business going as the P1 of record until you're able to take that that test. You got the P2, you're just a step away. You're very close. It's going to go fast. Trust me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's no way I can go a little bit earlier with the circumstances given.
I'm going to make the recommendation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to make the recommendation that you wait the year and get the license and obtain it the proper way.
And Nicholas, he just said a year, right? So you got that's 4/28, right? 26 today. He said a year, so you apply for that around now. So he's going to let you take it in a year, which is probably about 3 or 4 months early, which is fine because that's how long it takes sometimes to get through the PSI piece here. So Mr. Moore said a year, so you're getting a little bit of time there from the board.
Okay. Is it possible to get it within 6 months so I don't have to reapply for the fee and everything through PSI? Because I already paid a lot of money to PSI.
No,
that's a question for the department.
What's that?
That'll be a question for the department. I'll put Mr. Mesner on to answer that question for you.
Yeah, applications expire after a year from the application date. So
right.
The only comment I can really make is, it's stated right within the application, like Mr. Moore and Mr. Appleby have mentioned, the requirements for such license are 2 years as a journey person. So you're applying early doesn't excuse the fact that you didn't meet the qualifications for such license. So again, if 4/26 of 24 is outside of that 1 year frame, I don't have your application in front of me, then you would have to reapply and again pay those fees again.
The application went in on 1/9/23, so yeah, unfortunately, he's going to have to put that application in again.
Yep.
And would he be able to, with the board's permission, to send that right over to Karen? Because he's already been he got the P2 and go right to Karen, or does this have to go through a PSI timeline and then that? Can it go right to Karen to get squared away, Mr. Mesner?
I'm taking notes here. I will let Karen know to update his credential, and when he reapplies, Nick, I would just ask that you indicate such in your application. The applications no longer go through PSI, so all applications now go through DCP. So that does expedite the process and also kind of keeps it a little cleaner. So when your application comes in, we should see the notes, but I would please indicate the fact that you were approved and mention this board meeting, the 4/26/23 board meeting. You were approved to apply on 4/26/24 per the board.
Okay, and that goes through Karen, you said?
That's going to go right through the online application. So you're just going to go right through the whole process again. You click the link, apply here. You fill the application out, and again, there's a point where you can upload documents. You can upload a Word document, and you can either include the minutes from this meeting, which will be available on the Secretary of the State website, or you could just make a quick Word document that says that you were approved at this meeting, so that she could go back and reference such. And again, once that comes in and she can view those minutes that you were previously approved, then she could just essentially give you the green light, and you'll be notified from PSI that you're eligible to take the exam.
Okay. And there's no possible way I can go within the year. Like I said, I took the P2 like 6 times. It cost me like over $800. And I spoke to somebody, from the Consumer Protection Department. They said to apply because there's a good chance you could get a hardship with the case that I presented. So they kind of told me to go ahead and apply for another $150, and it's like I'm into this thing for like almost $1,000 just in test fees.
With all due respect, it's indicated right in the PSI bulletin that we utilize the international code in Connecticut. That's the code that we observe, not the National Plumbing Code. So had you read the references that were right within the PSI bulletin, you would have seen that you were testing under the wrong code book. To answer that first part, the second part.
I'm not saying it's not my fault, yeah.
The second part, if you could show me documentation of who you spoke with via an email, I can make sure that that person's educated. But the word hardship does not exist within statute or regulation. So whomever mentioned the word hardship would have been misusing that particular word. The board could look at equivalency, but we don't observe hardships.
Equivalency being?
Equivalency being that you've met the requirements, and if in the event, like the chairman had mentioned before, there was a situation that put you in a with a death, let's say, within the family, then this board, in this particular case, can review that particular matter to see if you meet the equivalency to be accelerated through. But that's not the particular case that's being heard before this board today.
All righty.
Is any other
All right,
board
well, I'll
members
reach out
have
to Karen.
questions for Nicholas? Okay, having none, thank you for attending, Nicholas. You've got your work cut out to speak with Karen Lehman and get that information, and then this gives you ample time to get the proper training through some schools to teach you the ICC schooling through the plumbing license category, so you can be sure not to have to take the test a few times. You want to try to knock it out of the ballpark the first time. And okay.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. I think we're on our last one today. Yep, we have Zach McFadden. Do we have a Zach McFadden with us today?
Yes, I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. I will. Zach has contacted me before this happened here, so I have to again refrain myself. I can ask questions and I can do all sorts of stuff, but I cannot vote on a matter. At this time, Zach, can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
Great. Thank you. I'll let Mr. Moore take over. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McFadden, for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm trying to figure out what it is you're applying for a P. You're applying for your P2 license.
Yes.
You've already applied, and you have an expired application. So what are you here for today?
What happened was I found that expired application was something that my father submitted on my behalf back in 2010. The history behind it is I started working with my father back in 2006 when I graduated from high school, and I asked him to make sure he took care of all the paperwork for my apprenticeship, and he assured me he would over and over, and I asked him how everything was going. He said good, and I found out all these years later, after he died in 2019, that he never actually submitted the paperwork, that he had just filled it out a bunch of times and almost to completion and never actually wound up mailing it. I'm not exactly sure what happened or why he didn't mail the paperwork in, but I'm kind of led to believe his dementia played a part in that. We started noticing that around 2015, and eventually he died in 2019, diagnosed with dementia. It was, a lot of mess that he left behind, and a lot of things that we found out, me and my mother found out, that he didn't take care of, problems with the house, bills, things like that. And I kind of believe this is one of those things that maybe he thought he took care of, but mentally he just didn't finish it. I trusted him as my father and as my mentor to take care of it, do the right thing by me, and it turns out he didn't. So I'm basically here in front of you guys today to explain the experience that I have, and with some letters also. Kind of people are just vouching for the hours that I have on the job, because I can't have my father here to do it since he passed away. I've kind of got all the equivalent training and experience from documents from people that I could.
So you graduate. So you graduated from Platt Tech, right?
Yes.
Out of the plumbing and heating class. So you have hours accumulated for that.
I do.
And now you worked for Manila Plumbing.
Yes.
They never registered you as an apprentice?
No, it wasn't a full-time job. It was almost full-time, but
he claims it's full-time in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, there was time in between, like I was still working for my father. So it wasn't my only job working for him. It was kind of a spontaneous thing to go work for him because my father slowed down really fast in early 2015, and I needed someplace to go quick to make money. And I was more worried about proving myself over there than pushing for an apprenticeship, because he didn't have a lot of guys working for him at the time. I didn't want to risk losing the job and losing the opportunity to make money and pay my bills. I know it was a bad decision on my part, but that's what I did.
And then in 2010, you were unregistered working for JPM.
Same thing. I wanted to learn a little bit about heating, the other side of the trade. So I kind of job shadowed with him, and it turned into not a full-time thing. It never was a full-time thing, but I worked with him just trying to learn the trade, learn a little bit about different things, and again, also make some money to make up for the fact that my father was never actually super busy with the job, with the business.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. McFadden has already appeared in front of yourself and Mr. Birch.
I would like to say no to that. Mr. McFadden had, again, I have to recuse myself because he did contact me because I believe he thought I could be back when he graduated. I was his NOCTI evaluator for his teacher, Mr. Salemi, who is a very well-known technical trade teacher for plumbing in Connecticut. In fact, he puts out some of the best students with Mr. Pember and Mr. Policia here. So he felt that he could call me, and I don't blame him. However, I did ask him to contact Mr. Mesner because I have to recuse myself, obviously, of this. So that's why he's there. We have Mr. Pember at this time also wants to respond if he could, Jay. But Jay, just to answer your question, Mr. Mesner felt instead of going through the working group, come straight to this meeting today. So Mr. Mesner made that happen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mesner. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Pember.
Yes, so my comment would be that at some point, there should be a responsibility on the apprenticeship side of that student, especially going through a tech school. And I know Ms. Slemmy for a lot of years, that one of the things that we've always told our students was that it's just your responsibility to make sure that you're in the apprenticeship program. And going to work for a couple other contractors who didn't register you, that should have been the first thing that came to mind, as far as you saying to them, hey, I need to be registered or something. I mean, it just seems that you don't have the hands-on apprenticeship hours. I don't think that the contractors can say that you did what was qualified as an apprentice if you didn't register for the program, and if they didn't register you, whether it be your father or somebody else. And going through the state of Connecticut's program, I do know for a fact that we talk about it all the time, as that it is an apprenticeship. It's your apprenticeship and it's your responsibility. So that's
It is, and I did make that mistake. I admit that, and I should have been more proactive in pursuing the apprenticeship and the paperwork along with it. With my father, unfortunately, like I said, I trusted him to do the right thing, and he said he did. The other two people that I worked for, I was a little bit distracted with a bunch of different things going on in life. I screwed up and didn't pursue the apprenticeship with them either.
So, Mr. McFadden, I mean, with that being said, I mean, you work for a couple different contractors. You work with your father. He passed away in 19.
Yeah.
When's the last time you worked in the plumbing industry?
Full time since I haven't worked in the industry full time since 2019. When my father passed away, since he was no longer around, I couldn't justify working full time. I actually wound up getting a job at Sikorsky Aircraft, not related to plumbing. And now the opportunity has come to work in the plumbing maintenance department over there. They require me to have a license, though, before I can take the job. So I kind of want to get that all squared away so I can take that job and go back working in the plumbing industry.
4 years out of the industry is quite some time. Codes change, technology changes. There's a lot of things that need to be, you need to be educated on before you go out and become a journey person. Journey person is a responsibility where you can teach people, you can teach apprentices. And if you're not familiar with the means and methods, then you're not capable of showing someone else.
I do 100% plan on going to the IMTI school for the refresher course, getting the flashcards, the tabbed code book, all the proper ways of doing it to really sharpen up my knowledge. I've also, over the past 4 or 5 months, been taking any practice tests, any paperwork that I found from school to try to refresh my memory. I do also have friends that still work in the trade. I've gone and helped them out here and there, like if they need an extra pair of hands for a day. Nothing consistent, nothing full-time, nothing that would put me on a payroll.
Does the board have any input on this? Any feelings?
I have a question, even though I can't vote on this. I am allowed to put my 2 cents in.
Certainly like to.
Your mother was the office manager of this company.
Yes.
Right. In her document, it states here, I'm writing this letter on behalf of my late husband. This letter is for you in reference to the equivalent training experience towards a P2. She said, I was the secretary and the office manager for my husband's business and managed all of the records and billing beginning in 1994. So what year did you graduate high school?
2006.
Okay. And she ended in 19 when my husband passed away. So she would have all your W-2 records that you could document your time with your dad. she would have them somewhere in accounting. I'm not sure who she uses for a bookkeeper, accountant, or somebody. This might be an avenue, I'm thinking, for myself, not for my board, but a way to document, because we've always asked for W-2s, proof of employment.
Yeah.
So being full-time, like you said, with your dad up and ending in 19, she should have all those records because she has to keep records for a certain amount of years. And
Mhm.
obviously that should account, because you went to Pratt Whitney, I mean, not Pratt, Sikorsky after the fact. So
Yeah.
all that before there should be plenty of record for her giving you a paycheck, paying taxes and everything else to the government. So it should all be there. So those might be enough hours for the board to relook at, to reevaluate this application. Zach.
I'd have to ask her if she still has all that stuff since she cleaned out and cleaned up everything that was left over from him. I don't know if she actually kept those records after he passed away. I'd have to see if she still has that stuff.
And with that being said, Mr. McFadden, to piggyback on Mr. Appleby, Chairman, you can also, I believe you can go to socialsecurity.gov and print out all your records of where you worked for those years. So you have, and I think Mr. Appleby's perfectly right on this. You have avenues to prove that you did work out in the field on those hours. So I'm going to make the recommendation you follow through with what Mr. Appleby said. Get the W-2s. Your classroom hours. We know you have a very, very good portion of them with the technical school. You get those W-2s. Provide those. We can review that. If you can't get W-2s, you could certainly go on your socialsecurity.gov and get a printout of everywhere you've worked for your entire life. And maybe you could bring those back to us and we could reevaluate the situation.
Okay. Would it be a big problem if like I was if I didn't have any tax records of working for my father, if he was like paying me off the books, if you will?
You're not going to be able to prove anything to us. So
would the documentation that I got from Ralph Salemi stating that he was aware of the fact that I worked for my father all these years carry any weight to it?
Mr. Salemi did the wrong thing by, that's the teacher. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I thought you were referring to one of the contractors you worked for. I think we really need solid evidence that you worked out in the field, Mr. McFadden.
Okay. Is there anything else I can provide to you besides W-2s for that?
Your socialsecurity.gov is available.
I would also try to check with your mother and see what records are available when she had to put the records for your dad to run a business, whether it was an employee or off the tip, whatever. There's got to be books there to justify or your name on a document for billing purpose. Almost, I'm trying to scrape at everything we can for you, Zach, for you to come up, show. I mean, Mr. Salemi is well known in our industry in Connecticut, as you know, and we appreciate that, him actually taking the time to write that letter for you, because that's huge for him to do, and that doesn't happen too often. So we really need to see where you did your time, and obviously you're working for a couple companies that never registered, so they're already in violation of occupation laws by not even providing you an apprenticeship, even though you graduated with plumbing and heating on your diploma through that school.
Yes.
You should have been registered by not only Mr. Manillo, and you should have been registered by Joe Moore.
Yes.
Is for his company, and they all supplied their license numbers here on their documents properly. I'm glad they did that. to say what kind of license categories they carry. So there's no reason either one of these guys couldn't have put in based on the hours they're giving you, plus your time that you had at school. This is we're trying to help you here, but
I know I can definitely supply income documents and cancel checks and tax forms from Manila Plumbing.
No, add up the hours. I mean,
Worksheets, timesheets, jobs completed, descriptions would be, some evidence that you've done some work.
unfortunately, Mr. McFadden, I mean, anybody that comes in front of the board that went to technical school but never served an apprenticeship can say, I worked out in the field. Nobody kept records of me. If we give it to you, I mean, we have to make exceptions for everyone else, and I don't think that's acceptable.
I understand. Would some tax documents from the work at Manila Plumbing, whatever I can find from them, help as well?
well, you've got 1,500 hours, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Pember and Mr. Policia, that he has been giving towards his full apprenticeship, not a pre-apprenticeship, but a full apprenticeship?
Yes.
Give him 1,500 hours?
Yes.
Okay, so now he needs 6,500 hours. This guy's classroom-related instruction. He is being told by Mr. Manillo, who carries the P1, that he has 4,000 hours of on-the-job training. So there's 4 plus you got 5,500 now. Okay.
Okay.
If you come up with the records, obviously.
Yes.
That shows that. And then in Mr. Under the S1, you could serve an apprenticeship because you had the heating, you had the wet side of the heating license completed. So he could have registered you under the S1. And he's saying he has built up, I wouldn't hesitate to have him work independently. He's a great asset to the industry. If I had to estimate, I would have to say he built up 6,000 hours of training and experience on the job with me. So he's giving you 6,000. Did he put you on the books? Does he have proof, W-2s from 2010 to whenever you left him to prove the 6,000 hours?
I can ask what he has for paperwork. That was because it wasn't a full-time thing. I don't think he did anything with taxes and, registrations and documents and that type of thing.
Okay, so you started with him in early 2010. This is his recollection.
Yeah.
This is an estimate here himself.
Okay.
When did you end your relationship with that company? What year?
I still talk to him from time to time. I still go and help him out with different things. If he needs somebody to, help him carry stuff around or, clean up where he's working. Nothing super technical, build a platform for underneath an air handler, help him carry stuff into the attic, that type of thing.
See, and that's a heating license. We're looking to try to get you a plumbing license.
Yes.
You're crossed over to a couple here. That's why we try to complete out plumbing before you go over to your heating. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, there's, again, and I can't speak on behalf of the heating board, right, guys? We can't speak on behalf of the plumbing board. So he's got 6,000 hours here. Maybe that's something Mr. Mesner could discuss with the heating board as a crossover, possibly, because sometimes the heating licenses do some stuff that is plumbing related, like oil piping, oil tanks. It's plumbing, heating, right? Maybe there's some time there that can be accomplished. We're really going, Zach, to try to help you here. We're trying to dig deep into your area to give you just the time for plumbing.
I do understand. I very much appreciate it. I'm trying to see what I can give you as documentation. I'll have to look at and see if I have any kind of tax records from, that would be McFadden's Plumbing.
And your mother's, right? Your mother's got records somewhere. She's probably got files there that she has to keep because of so many years, right? And
Yeah.
she'll need for the future for herself,
Yeah.
for her records. And then you've got these other avenues that you could, the heating gentleman there, that you weren't registered with, might be able to come up with some things. But again, that's a heating board topic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to scratch the surface there for you to hint, try to get something out of them that's plumbing and heating related, for your
Water heaters and boilers, gas piping.
Keep in mind that the heating license does not cover the backflow preventer back. Okay.
Yeah.
So the plumber does the domestic water, potable water, let's call it. Okay.
Right.
So that's where the plumbing license is. The heating. So what you could grasp at is oil piping from the boiler, say, to an oil tank, or stuff like that. But then again, that's Mr. Mesner would work with you at the heating board to see what you could get per hour for that. But I think we've given you pretty much a lot of areas to go look at.
Okay. If I could pull some McFadden's Plumbing taxes, would that be acceptable?
Is McFadden still in business?
I kept the name alive after my father died. My father kind of handed it off to me, and I kept it. It's like, it's for the future, for down the road. I'd like to, eventually reopen it and restart it again, since I'm the third generation of doing this. My grandfather was a plumber. My father and two of his brothers were plumbers, and then I did plumbing. So I'm kind of born and bred into this, if you will.
Does his brothers, if they were in that in your third generation, was it the same family name, the business?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've unfortunately, they've both passed away.
Okay. What about their records? They should have copy of records as well. Their families.
I don't think either one of them actually ever had a business. They just worked for people, but they did plumbing.
Okay.
I never actually met my grandfather. He died in 1964 or 1963. My other uncles died, I think, in 2007 and 2012. I wasn't expecting my father to die as soon as he did. He was the youngest out of 9 kids. When he died, he was like 73 years old. And I think his oldest sister is still alive right now. She's 92. So I wasn't expecting my father to die as early as he did. I figured I had more time. It kind of happened quick. He kind of went downhill really fast from the end of 2018 into mid 2019 when he died in August 2019.
Sorry about that. It happens so often in family businesses, in the trades. This is not unheard of at all. At all.
It kind of put a dead stop to everything I was doing, and that's why I took the job at Sikorsky, just to get my foot in the door and secure an income for myself, even though it wasn't plumbing related. And now the opportunities come up to move into the plumbing department there, but they require me to have a license to get into that department.
I would refer to Mr. Mesner at this point with the board's permission. Obviously, it's something we don't have to vote on. So perhaps Mr. Mesner could reach out and get the opinion of the heating board, or perhaps sit in the heating board meeting and explain the situation to them as well, to see how they might be able to support your endeavors for the hours that you're on the job training hours that's required for your initial apprenticeship for the P2.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mr. Mesner, or am I overreaching?
It makes sense, and I'm going to gravitate back to what Mr. Moore said, because it's going to be the same scenario on the heating board side as with yours. Zach, you're going to have to go and get this documentation to substantiate the fact that you actually have this experience that you're bringing for now both boards. Because you'd be looking for a limited heating license with the heating board if that's the case. And like Mr. Chairman's explaining, there is crossover and there is credit that's given for that crossover.
Okay.
So if there is a gap in hours, there is a potential, I think this is where Mr. Chairman is going, that gap will be covered by that limited heating license that you may or may not be approved for by the heating board.
Okay.
But your application, I think, needs to be a little bit further substantiated outside of the fact of the notarized letters, because, as has come about today, you're unable to substantiate that time frame with your father with the tax documentation to support that you actually were an employee. And that's a big part of this whole thing, is to be able to substantiate such. As Mr. Moore is indicating, if you can't get the documentation, Jay, I got to gravitate back to you because I forget the site you were giving with the Social Security. But you're going to have to utilize that link and get whatever documentation you can, and be mindful that the 2,000-hour credit is given on a 40-hour work week basis. So anything less than what equates to 40 hours a week, you would not be getting the full 2,000-hour credit.
Okay. I'll have to dig into whatever I can find for taxes, like Schedule Cs and stuff like that.
Unfortunately, I think that's where we're at, Mr. McFadden. I mean, you're going to have to come up with the documentation at this point.
Okay.
You currently still have a job at Sikorsky Aircraft in Stratford?
I do for the time being. The reason why I'm a little bit pushed to do this is kind of internal information, but we've kind of run into some problems there internally, parts shortages and issues like that. And there has been talks of layoffs. I'm a little bit worried about the department I'm in because we're one of the slow departments right now. I can't give away the exact numbers of shortages and issues and things like that. That's internal information, but I'm a little bit worried about that department versus the maintenance department, because the maintenance department is a much more secure place to be in. And if I don't have the opportunity to move over there, I'm not sure what other opportunities I may get based on my skill set.
Well, the Department of Labor has a website available in the event that you do get laid off. We are looking for very talented plumbers, heating, sprinkler, electrical across the board in Connecticut right now. Electric Boat has some great opportunities for people as well. In our area here, they are taking everybody on. You might be able to transfer over there between the companies, work with the Department of Labor sites, and see what is available for you with health benefit, everything that you've got. You've got time in. You're in a military installation working for Sikorsky, highly reputable company. And if they, if this is something that changes on you, and perhaps you could lean on them to get you into, because you are a high school graduate of a Connecticut trade school. That says a lot about you, that you went to school for those 4 years and you had Salemi as a instructor, which is one of the top guys in Connecticut. That alone would easily find a job for you at Electric Boat all day long.
And I do often, and that's where that's why he sent me the letter that he sent me explaining my situation and, my passion for the trade.
Yeah. I just wish these guys had registered you, I mean,
I do too. I'm really, really upset about what happened with my father. This wasn't the only thing that he screwed up on. I mean, there was a lot of things that were messed up. I mean, it took almost 3 years for me and my mother to get the house sold and to get everything all cleared through probate. I think there was 11 or 12 different liens against the house that we had to get cleared. The house had to get fixed up, and all of his stuff had to get cleaned out. And it was really a really stressful situation that I helped get her through that. You know, we just found a message there, and I'm just trying to pick up all the pieces and keep moving forward with it.
Okay, Zach, you know what you have to do here.
Okay.
You got a job, you're working, you got, you know, as quick as you can get this information, get to Mr. Mesner, get to the heating board, see if they can disseminate some of these hours for you. I wouldn't wait. I'd move on it right away, which I know you have. And I applaud you for pushing now, and our condolences to your dad. Certainly know how that goes. The old school was very difficult. Trust me, I know. I'm third generation of a 4th-generation business, so I get it. But get out there, get what you need to do, and you know, you've manned up, and I appreciate that. And you got to get this done for yourself and move forward. And can't wait to see you sit there for that P2 test someday shortly. Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to, you know, prove my knowledge and prove worth to the field with the opportunity to take the test. That's mainly what I'd like. You know, just to show my skills, to show my knowledge, and to go on doing things the right way.
Good luck, Zach.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may just do a little housekeeping here with Zach for a moment.
Sure.
Zach, just to educate you on behalf of the department, as you heard earlier with Mrs. Hamill being on, there is an enforcement division. Some of the things that you said today lead me to the fact that I have to identify this in front of you here. Is that you are in violation of Connecticut law by going out and engaging in work without a license. And it is not my decision to go any further with that today besides education with such. It's up to the board if they wanted to do anything. But if you go out and seek employment with another employer, as you brought forth with the employer letters today, just know that besides them being in violation for allowing you to engage, that you are also in violation because you are as well engaging in work that requires the license. Yes. And some other items that you had mentioned after the fact today is that you are still to this day going out and engaging in work without registration, without license, and that too is in violation. So just know that unless one of these individuals wants to register you, and a registration is non-transferable, which means if somebody registers you, you can only work for that one particular employer. So, you know, going out and helping somebody here and there, there's no such thing as helper in the occupational world. You're either an apprentice or you're licensed, regardless of the task that you're doing if you're engaging on an occupational work site. So I just had to do a little bit of housekeeping, and that's it.
Okay. So the stuff that you guys want from me, just so I fully understand it, is you want some kind of income verification from the work at Manillo, any income verification I can get from the work with JPM, Joe Moore, and any income verification that I can get from my father's records of money that came to me from the business.
Correct. Mr. McFadden, you need legal documentation that you were employed doing work under a licensed trade.
Okay. I will get you guys as much stuff as I can. And who do I send that to? To Mr. Mesner?
Yeah, you could work with me. We'll get the application resubmitted, and you would have to come and present that back to this board again, so that they can view the documentation that you supply.
Okay, so get it all together and get it to you then.
Yep, just communicate with me, and then we can move forward from there.
Okay. Is it hopeful that I'll get to take the test, you think?
It's up to you.
Just to summarize on behalf of that, like the board has told you today, you need to substantiate 8,000 hours. You're getting 1,500 hours of credit. So it's the 6,500 hours that you have to account for. So that's essentially what the chairman and Mr. Moore and the board members have kind of stated to you. So that's up to you to supply that documentation now, that 6,500 hours, or come back to the board, find out what the deficit is, and seek an apprenticeship in the future that would allow you to close that gap to be eligible to test.
Okay, so between the hours from Manillo Plumbing and the hours at the school, I have 6,500, so I would be 1,500 hours short.
If you could substantiate that amount of time, then yes, you would be short that amount of hours. But right now, you're short everything except what you were given at technical high school. So until you substantiate all that evidence that you prove that you worked under employment of a licensed journey contractor, right now you have nothing but what's provided to you from the state of Connecticut as your high school graduation.
Okay. Well, I'll get myself together as quick as I can to get all the documents, and I'll get them emailed over to Mr. Mesner. And I guess he'll contact me and tell me what else he needs.
Yep, I'll work with you to get this situated.
Okay. I'll do the absolute best I can, and hopefully you guys can give me the opportunity, to take the test, improve my knowledge, and prove my skills in the trade.
Good luck to you, Zach. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, board members, too.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you. Mr. Mesner, I'll be in touch as soon as I can.
Sounds good. Thanks, Zach. Have a good day.
Do I leave the meeting now?
You can log off now. Yes, Mr. McFadden, you can log off. Correct.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that was the last application for review. We have a document that was in here, section 120-332-5. It's under new. John, are you aware that what is it? The OE2, the operating station engineer. I know it discusses some heating in here, sheet metal work, stuff like that. Refrigeration systems. Is this just a FYI for us? It's really got nothing significant discussion, and well, it does have piping and heating piping, but the piping, I'm not sure what the definition of piping is with an OE2, how it reflects to plumbing. Can you talk a little bit about that, John?
Sure. I did note that in your agenda today. I am not sure why that is on your agenda. Besides an FYI, there was some language change that is at the heating board right now, and the heating board is just reviewing that language. They're actually going to have a special meeting. They were going to review it at the last heating board meeting, which was about 2 weeks ago, I believe. And there was a few little tweaks they wanted to make as such, but I believe that's just in there as an FYI. There's nothing in there that really impacts the plumbing credential.
Gotcha. A quick question. It says new. Is this a draft? Should this have draft put over it? This is not legislation yet. Is this going in front of legislation or a regulatory situation where this is a draft, or is this law now?
I will call that a draft. The language really hasn't changed from what was out there previously, and that's currently what's going back and forth between the heating board members and legal. Again, there's just a few words in there, but once those words are, once the heating board gets back to legal and says, here's our final on this, this will be going in for reg review, and that's when it will become law. So right now, what you see before you is what you will find on our website for the criteria for the scope of the credential. Again, you'll see some modifications once we get that back, and then once upon reg review, then it will actually be effective.
Great. So currently, right now, the OE-2 does not exist in the list of license categories with the Department of Consumer Protection at this time.
That is correct.
Great. Thanks for sending it through, John. It's a great FYI for all of us that represent both sides here. The fact that it says piping in there alone is a great opportunity for us to take a look at it. So thank you for that.
Yep.
I think that really ends the meeting today. Does anybody here have anything to add before we end the meeting?
Well, just on a note, in my packet, Just there's a new license out for Boilermakers BM1. I'm just assuming this is for an FYI to let us know. This is happening over at the heating board.
So, yes, that as well went before the heating board with the OE2. That was accepted, and that is going to rig review.
The Boilermaker was accepted. Yeah, I
Yep.
figured that. Yep. Okay.
What is the Boilermaker document there, Jay? If you have that in front of us, because I didn't print that out yet. I had it in my package. I did not do it. Can you just explain a little bit what that says on here, just for the sake of it?
Yeah, it's going to let the Boilermakers at cogen plants and biomass. It's going to let them alter, repair breaching, and fabricate pressure vessels under the ASME standards. And it's going to be a 2-year as licensed journey person, or equivalent. It's going to work hand in hand with the heating, pipe, and cooling sheet metal examining boards. So I'm assuming we're forming a license for Boilermakers here in Connecticut.
So that has been on the books for some time. That actually, from my learning of such credential, and again, on the enforcement side, we were aware of it, but I believe where that derived was around the same time that the sheet metal credential came into play.
Yeah.
Just to give you a little history on such.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't see, I mean, Chuck, I'll be honest with you. I mean, we work with Boilermakers all the time. I don't see where, I mean, it's what Boilermakers do, basically. It's what they've been doing. Not really seeing what the changes are. But, it's for the heating board to make that decision.
Right. And again, it's another great FYI because, as you know, with our kids in the trade schools and stuff like that, years ago, I had the vice president of Northeast Utilities Nuclear Operations at Norwich Tech, and members of Local 777 top guys were there for that when he spoke to the children about the future of pressurized vessels in the nuclear operations of power plants throughout the country. Instead of putting in like a millstone 1, 2, 3, they are putting in these different units. So I think a lot of this might pertain to the future as we electrify Connecticut, work on the grid, and create these new power stations. So I think a lot of that kind of starts to start the process. So that's great. So I'll end with that topic. That was probably 10 years ago that we had that discussion. Does anybody else have anything to add today?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'm going to add for you is you and I are about 16 minutes late to an application review meeting, but I did notify Karen as such.
I saw that. Thank you, Mr. Messner.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion to end the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time this morning. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great
Have a
day.
great day, everybody. Thank you,
Have a good
Jennifer.
day.
Mr. Chairman, I'll see you over on the other side.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
You too. Appreciate your help.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.